what was supposed to be the not only imposition of significant tariffs, but sort of like the recalibration of the global order. Now, I've read the papers written by people that would have been, may seem somewhat incoherent on the surface. There might be strategy to whatever we're witnessing. And I think beneath this shock and chaos, there's this splitting up of the pre-existing global order. But it's entailing the shifting from a pre-existing multipolarity that was a lot more unstructured to what I believe would likely be much more structured. And it's sort of like when you thump the earth, you can sort of like unleash the ants coming out of earth. And you can better identify who's likely to be your friend, who can afford to be friendly with you, but not so friendly with you. And I'm in the camp that believes that Indonesia and Southeast Asia are sort of like a swing state that have great option value to be able to deal with the two great powers in the next century. You think of history without having to go back to 250 BC. We had tremendous peace and stability on the back of two countervailing forces, Europe and China, that basically helped with countervailing forces that kept us stable in Southeast Asia. Except something happened in the 17th century. This was on the back of two things. Two main observations. The first would have been the technological innovation within Europe on the back of their Renaissance, which unfortunately got weaponized, which unfortunately got economized. A minuscule aberration. For the most part, the religious infusion into Southeast Asia came through the merchants that would have come from many parts of India, many parts of the Arabian Peninsula. And there were exchanges of scholarly discourses involving those in India, in the Arabian Peninsula, and in China, alongside the Southeast Asians. One manifestation of such cool interchange and exchange of ideas and thoughts was the orientation requirement for Buddhist scholars from China. I want to be able to put more food on the table. I want to make sure that my child's IQ is above 78.49. I want to make sure that we're less diabetic. I want to make sure that we score better than number 69 out of 81 countries in PISA. I want to make sure that my child gets into all the great schools in the world. That, I think, is imagination and ambition. And with a twist of luck, call that coincidence, you've got that earned luck. You've got that smart luck, which is commonly called serendipity. So if you build this political culture, I think you might have a chance of telling the story better. You might have a chance of actually basically maximize the size of that pool of capital that can be deployed. I don't think most countries in Southeast Asia are capable of doing that yet. So this is, I think, a new career opportunity for translational undertakings, right? Typically, the guy that does this is a chartered financial analyst, or somebody with an MBA, or somebody with, I think, tremendous, capability with quantitative, skill sets. So if you can do that, I think you're going to be able to get a lot of money, not only from Leonard Mongolia, but from other parts of the world. If you take a look at the World Bank publication with respect to the ease of doing business, it's highly subjective. The second reason is that, paradoxically, as much as their politics would have been centralized, their economics would have been decentralized. Chinese economist, it's Katie Jin. You know, she basically, I think, expresses this observation beautifully in the sense that as much as politically China would have been highly centralized or centralistic, they allowed for a high degree of decentralization of economic activities. Meaning, you've got a mayor of a little town, he or she basically would galvanize her team of policymakers and in collaboration with entrepreneurs within that particular zip code. But what happens with the abundance? It doesn't get distributed, right? It's sort of like what some people call tragedy of the commons, or the declination of shared prosperity. And I hope it's not the case when there's abundance with respect to intelligence, by way of AI, there's abundance with respect to labor, by way of robotics. Let's not hope that that particular abundance is not going to get redistributed the way we have seen with respect to economic capital independence. And I think there's a real systemic risk. If we're not judicious about ushering this new narrative on AI, new narrative on robotics, and we continue to commoditize these two, we continue to see this becoming abundant, but the abundance does not get